Hey guys, Mr. Steckler here. So I want to go over the rubric so you guys know how I'm going to be grading you on the crappy PowerPoints. So I'm going to be going through your slides, and I can't grade you based on how good your design is, because I don't know the best design. There is not a best design out there, but I will be grading you based on this rubric to see how well you incorporate the elements of an effective presentation. So, for example, for proximity over here, if your font choice makes the words hard to read because it's too small, not bold enough, or the font is not easy to see, then you're going to get a 0 on proximity. So an example of this would be for this slide over here. On a full screen, if you take a look off the left-hand side over here, I can't read those words in its small view, which would be what it looks like in full screen mode. And because over here is not readable due to the proximity, it would be a 0-point score. Whereas the font choice is large enough to be seen, but you don't have a reason behind why you picked the font you did. There's also no clear goal in mind with your slide for the order in which you want the viewers to see your slides. So what that means over here is, if you take a look at this slide over here, this is somewhere between a 0 and a 1 because it's still too small, even though it's aligned better. Your alignment grade would go up, but proximity stays the same. What I mean by that is alignment over here is you didn't attempt to create your slides some sort of flow, and there's no clean lines. So on your slide on proximity, you get graded on all 4 of the elements. So you have to make sure that you're hitting a 2 for every single slide. So even though it's about proximity, you get graded for everything. But going back to proximity over here for the 2-point, the font's large enough, but there's no clear goal. So looking at a 2-point or a 1-point answer, if my slide looks like this, and I asked you, well, why did you make this word bigger and this word bigger, and your answer is, I don't know, then you would only get 1 point. Whereas if I were to ask that same question, and you can then explain why you chose the font, and then why you did it, and you can say that the first word I wanted you to read was proximity, then you'd get a 2-point. So the difference between 1 and 2 points has to do more with intent than what your slide looks like for proximity. So 2 points could be this slide as long as you can explain, I chose the font Arial Black to make it bold enough, I chose Arial Black over here to make it bolder, and I chose size 60 here and 44 here to really showcase the proximity. The order I wanted someone to read it was 1, 2, 3, and then the whole slide. Now that doesn't mean that's what the audience will do, but at least that's how you designed it, and you designed it with proximity in mind. Next on the rubric is about contrast. So contrast 0 would be your colors are hard to see. A very easy way to showcase that is if you were to take this color over here and you were to choose some really light color. This would show poor contrast, and you would get a 0 point because you can basically barely read that over there. For a 1 point, the slides are readable, but the colors were not specifically chosen to complement each other. So if you guys go back to the color chart over here, if you use something that has like medium contrast, you might get a 1 point as opposed to 2 points because you didn't design it to be as, viewable as possible with contrast in mind. Whereas if you do another color combination, that's great, blue on white, or you do green and white, that will get you your 2 points on the rubric, so that you've specifically been able to explain why you chose the colors you did. As for repetition, this is one that people have a lot of difficulty with. People get a low score sometimes because things are disorganized, such as colors, pictures, and fonts. Now, if in your presentation you have like 3 or 4 different colors in a slide, like you have this over here, this color, this over here, you have this color, and I go ahead and ask you, well, why are those colors there? And you're like, I thought it looked good. And you don't have a deeper reason to explain those colors, then you're going to get a 0 in terms of your repetition. If you go to a website like Amazon.com or something, this website shows repetition with their color schemes. It's not going to be having random elements throughout their page. Like if you look at the deals over here, every single time it's a price, same color. Deal of the day, ribbon, same color. See details, every time it's in yellow. Over here, stars are always yellow. Those repeated colors build consistency in your presentation, and if you have disorganized colors, pictures, and fonts, then you're going to get a 0. So if they're somewhat organized, but not everything is repeated, where you can't specifically explain why they were, you get a 1, whereas you get a 2 if you can explain the specific reason I decided to make this part yellow was to make it stand out, and I made it yellow every time to show consistency, so whenever you saw this, you knew it was that. And that's something that I do very frequently in my do nows, where everything on the left is objective, everything on the right is do now. I use colors to link that to what it is. And finally, we got alignment we went through, identical lines, so you want to make sure that those words are neatly aligned like I explained in the beginning. And also from slide to slide, your slides are similar. So I don't want to have over here a slide on proximity where it looks like that, and then my next slide has the word proximity over here, and then this font's over here. It just looks sloppy going through the 2 slides when things are jumping around. So you want to make sure to get that 2 point. You align your words with either using shapes where you insert a square, or you do your lines like so. So that is how you guys are going to be using the rubric. I hope that